Yeah, yeah. You know I've been ballin'. Yeah, I can see the money.
Yo, it's your boy Sire, and you are now tuning in to Rhythm of the Game podcast.
Lights, please. Turn the cameras on, you can feel me.
What's up, everybody? This is Sire. You tuning in to Rhythm of the Game podcast. Before I go into detail about my personal life and everything, I just kind of wanted to give everybody a small segment on what the show is about. So basically, I wanted to originally, I was doing music. Everybody knows me for making music, dropping music all the time. But unfortunately, I can't say that I won't do music again, but I'm kind of switching directions because I want to lean towards more of the podcasts realm of things. So yeah, we're switching up to the podcast. You're going to see a lot of things coming in these next several months. So just be prepared because I'm coming with content, coming with a lot of things to talk about that's just relevant and just kind of give you guys so you can see the phase I'm at in my life. So yeah, let's hope y'all enjoy and let's get into it.
2 a.m. Gone in up steady flexing. You heard the memo. Sire, he a fucking menace. Born sinner, but you know I stay winning. I see them watching, pop it like they're playing tennis.
This is Sire coming at you live from the basement of my home. You are now tuned in to the first episode of the Rhythm of the Game podcast. It's crazy to think about it, man, because I never thought that I would be starting a podcast. So I just started getting into the podcast probably like 2 years ago, realistically. This is kind of like my shift from music, trying to go in a different direction. Not say that, music is always my first love. Not saying I won't ever do that again. I'm still going to write. I'm still going to throw out music, but I think I'm shifting more in the podcast space. The reason why I wanted to kind of present this podcast is, first of all, the podcast has this intertwine between music, fashion, and sports. And just kind of how they all connect in some capacity. So I think that's going to spark some interest to a lot of people. It sparks some interest in me because I'm a musician, I'm a former athlete, and yeah, I love fashion. As you can see, I got my newbies on, New Balances from head to toe. I think this is like a little hoodie I got from I think Ross, little $20 hoodie, and then I got my Von Dutch on, my Von Dutch hat on. So a little bit of everything today, trying to give it to them all in one. Not too much. I can't give y'all too much of the sauce. But yeah, man, I'm ready for y'all to tune in. We're going to dive into some great things on the first episode, let y'all know a little bit more about me personally. So we're really going to get into some stuff here. Well, first things foremost, I was born in North Philadelphia. A lot of people don't know North Philadelphia is definitely one of the most dangerous places in America. A lot of violence, a lot of the big drug epidemic. But I will say I definitely had a family. Being raised with my grandparents and my mom and my dad, stepmom. They kept me, my brothers, and my little sister kind of out of that lifestyle. We never really had to worry about too much. Definitely lost some people, man. Family members. When I was 10, my best friend got killed, and just like a random shootout. He was walking to school, he got killed. So yeah, that was really rough on me, man. It was. That was probably one of my first experiences that I dealt with personally for death. That was like a big loss to me. So, it was definitely a time in my life where I felt like, damn, am I going to have to experience this for the rest of my life? And, death comes, that's a part of life. But something like that, it was just unexpected, was just crazy. And I think my best friend's name was Fahim. So, eventually I want to get him tatted on me, just as like a remembrance. But that was like my best friend in elementary school. So that kind of like dawned on me. I think that's for a while. And I think that's what made me kind of change my ways of like thinking and how I wanted to succeed in life. As most of y'all know me, I'm an overachiever, so I like to go hard, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to, because I wanted to make sure that, uh, obviously his legacy lives forever, and it just made me motivated because I know he wouldn't want me to be sad. Um, Anyways, that was a big tragic point in my life. Growing up in North Philly, my grandparents were always around. Uh, Mom and dad, stepmom were always around. So I had a very close knit family and still do to this day. You know what I mean? So definitely blessed for that. My mom moved us out the county a little bit to this little neighborhood called Pottsville. Moved up there where I graduated and went to high school at, me and all my brothers. Then ended up going to Penn State. You met a lot of cool people at Penn State, man. Met my wife there. We've been together for almost 10 years now. We've been married for like a couple months. Moved to Pittsburgh with her. That's where she's from. And now we at a house now. So we moved up to Pittsburgh. We had an apartment for a little bit. We had a dog and 2 cats. Now, we got our first house, which is a blessing, up in Butler, PA. So that's cool. Definitely blessed about that one. And I think everybody it's crazy because everybody knows Sire as the rapper. Let me give you a little backstory on this. So dive into my personal life. So my dad took me to my first studio. No lie, he'll tell you this too if he sees you. He get into a whole story. My dad took me to my first studio when I was 12, right? I recorded my first track. He helped me write it. I recorded my first track at Sheldick Studio. Shout out to Sheldick Productions. I don't know where you are right now, but I definitely recorded in your basement, me and my dad. And I had to pull the song up for y'all sometimes, one of these times. But anyways, I recorded my first song at 12. And from then on out, I knew music is something that I wanted to pursue in my career. And I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing music since I was 12. I think I got to high school. I formed a group with my boys, Eddie and Brand New, called the Young Kings. We did our thing for a couple years where we performed at multiple shows. Definitely made money off our music, off of performing. I'm sorry. Opened up for some big artists like Mike Stud, Moosh and Twist, Hoodie Allen, Fred the Godson, rest in peace. So yeah, we did a lot of things with each other. Unfortunately, we thought it would be better just for us to go our separate ways, not as far as like break up, but in the sense of me kind of being a solo act and them being more behind the scenes. So when we took on that route, it went from, the Young Kings to just Sire as a solo act. And then it went from Eddie making the graphics to producing, and then Brand New producing. So he did a lot of my production, a lot of my mixing of my previous tapes, albums, whatever you want to call it, EPs. So I say I was a solo act for probably 6 or 7 years. Definitely had some success. I was in contact with some majors. Was trying to work some things out, but it's the entertainment industry, right? So things don't always go as planned. But I definitely had some good memories making music, dropping some different releases, collaborating with some big artists, and just having some success as a solo artist. Like I said, it didn't go as I wanted it to go, but I think it was good enough where I should say, yo, you had a very successful career. And not to say it's not done because I'm shooting this podcast right now. But I think the podcast space I want to dive more into, and what kind of sparked my interest in the podcast space is seeing a lot of my peers do it, and music is always going to be my first love, and I want that to be known. Music always going to be my first love. I'm never going to stop it. I'm never going to stop loving for music because that's how I came up. I grew up in the church, so I grew up around music my whole life. But I want to make this shift because I like to talk. I want people to know my story. I want people to know other people's stories. And just, give y'all some different types of content, different piece of content that you're not used to from me. You know, I feel like, and not to sound cocky, but I feel like when I talk, people listen. So I have a voice. My voice is very powerful, in my opinion. So why not use that to my advantage and give you guys the rhythm of the game? Um, so yeah, podcast. Going back to what I was saying, the podcast space really inspired me to create my own lane. I watch $1 million worth of game. Shout out Waldo and Gilly. They from Philly. I watch $1 million worth of game a lot, almost damn near every fucking episode. So I watch that a lot. I watch the Joe Rogan Experience a lot. I watch Shannon Sharp, the Nightcap. Watch that. So and this goes deeper than just people who are on podcasts. Like I majored in print journalism at Penn State, so I'm a big advocate for talk show hosts. So like Arsenio Hall, the Jay Leno show, the Late Night Show, the Conan O'Brien show. So I grew up watching all of that stuff in like late 90s, early 2000s. So I've also always been inspired by being in front of the camera and talking in front of people. So I've been inspired since a youngin'. I'm just now kind of expressing myself in my own perspective on my podcast. So that's really the shift that why I wanted to make the shift into the podcast game. So giving you guys something to just work with, you know what I'm saying? And the podcast game, man, it's definitely not an easy route. I had thoughts of how I wanted to pursue this or when I wanted to pursue this, because I wanted to make sure I was, if I were going to pursue it, which I am, obviously, I'm giving you guys all types of content, sticking to music, fashion, and sports, right? But just giving you little bits and pieces of content there so that you guys can be interested in that, I should say. It's more so the podcast space is definitely growing, and it's grown in the past few years, I should say, from video to audio, from people doing interviews at different like music festivals, businesses. I think it's just a safe space for everyone to come on and talk, because think about it like this. Everybody's always typing behind a computer, ranting on the internet, yada, 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 trying to get their thoughts out, which is fine. You get your thoughts out how you want to get your thoughts out. But me giving it to y'all raw, no diddy, talking it to you just from my perspective, and and none of this is written down. I'm talking to you how I'm talking to you. I think it says a lot about an individual, right? So especially me, from my personal life, I've always been the person to just, talk my way out of any situation, whether it be good or bad, or just talk to you in general. I like talking to people in general. So I know you see me right now. This is my first initial podcast, but trust me, we will have more people on this show. A rhythm of the game. So you guys can, get to learn more about others, not just myself. But yeah, man, I'm excited to give y'all this podcast. Excited for just to take another trip, a new journey, because this is something that I've been working on for a little bit. Shout out my boy Cam. Shout out my boy Eddie. We talked for months about this, just trying to plan and prep, just to get everything right. You know what I mean? Just to present to you guys for the near future. I think Rhythm of the Game podcast. I know Rhythm of the Game podcast is going to be one of the biggest podcasts to come out of Pittsburgh within the next year. And I want to put my stamp on that. So just be prepared, because this is definitely going to be worthwhile. And just some things, like I said, I'm going to cover while my time with this podcast is going to be a lot of music, a lot of sports, a lot of fashion, because they all kind of intertwine with each other. It all has to do with the entertainment industry. So I think this is definitely going to be a big topic of discussion between the big three. So I'm excited to bring this to y'all. Personally, like I said, I was a little nervous at first. I didn't really, I wasn't thinking. I didn't know how this would go. I was nervous at first because I didn't know how this would go. This is, like I said, it's my first time not talking into a camera, but talking into a camera and just giving y'all topics that I wanted to discuss throughout this next hour. So yeah, man, it's quite exciting. Kind of dive back more into my personal life of everything. Uh, Music is definitely something that I think a lot of people take for granted. I talked about this last time on a recent clip on my Instagram. As an artist, what I experienced was definitely worthwhile. I think I've definitely had some ups and downs. I met a lot of good connections in this industry. I just didn't think that route of being like the face as an artist was not for me. I think from a business aspect, I think I handled it well. But there's a lot of things that goes into being an artist personally. Spending money on studio time, making the right records, getting the right features on a record, and that's kind of why I made that shift because I just didn't want to do it anymore. To be honest, like I'm still gonna write from time to time, but this is what I want to do full time as far as the podcast. And growing up, music was kind of like my main thing. I grew up in the church. I grew up in the Baptist church. We grew up going to church every Sunday, so there was gospel on. My mom was playing R&B in the car on our way to different road trips and seeing family members. Hip hop, from my dad's side, what I mean? I always had a love for hip hop as well. Music in general, I guess I should say. I can't really single each genre out. Music in general, I always had a love for. So, but writing music was kind of like what I wanted to do. Along with, I also wanted to be a professional athlete, but you kind of see how that fucking worked out. Didn't really have the drive for that anymore. But music was always my first love, and there's always something I wanted to do professionally in this lifetime. But who knows? An opportunity may come up in the next near future, and it may be something that comes around and spins the block again. But for now, I'm shifting my focus mainly to podcasts, just because I want to give people just something to not just something to listen to, but just something to ease your mind. You know what I mean? Just something that you can listen to on your way home, on your ride from work, on your way, getting up in the morning, getting your morning coffee. You know what I mean? And this is just really for anyone. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Definitely going to be worth your while. I'm just letting you know that right now. But yeah, that's all I got for this. I'm excited to continue this. We're about to actually go on a break right now. See, I got my Coors Light with me. That's what I'm drinking on today. Let's get into it, man. I'm excited. Yeah.
Lights please, lights please. We go show.
Yo, it's your boy Sire, and you are now tuning in to Rhythm of the Game podcast. Getting into some of my musical influences. I won't say it's all over the place, but it's mainly soul. A lot of soul music, soul/R&B, whatever you want to call it. David Ruffin is definitely one of my favorite artists ever to live. And if you don't know who David Ruffin is, he is was the lead, Temptations, the original lead. The original, if you don't know who David Ruffin is, he was the original lead singer for the group Temptations back in like the 50s and the 60s. David Ruffin has an amazing voice. I advise y'all to tap into him and his whole catalog without the Temptations because you will not be disappointed. So it's between him, I would say him, Michael Jackson, and Kanye West. I know that's kind of like a shift all over, but those were probably like my three. Obviously in Tupac. obviously he's up there. But those are Kanye West, David Ruffin, and Michael Jackson are like my top 3 music inspirations, hands down. I just feel like they just got that soul feeling. When you listen to them, you have a feeling. Music is supposed to be, it's a genre. I mean, it's the different types of genres, but when you listen to music, you're supposed to have some type of feeling. And I felt like I got well connected to all 3 of them, and they make me feel some type of way, whether it's sad, whether it's upbeat, happy, or I'm just like, oh damn, I can understand this. It makes me conscious, you know what I mean, about certain things in life. So, and those are 3 people. There's like other few I can name, but those are 3 artists that I can listen to their album like straight through, no skips. And that's the honest God truth. You know what I mean? So they were big influences in my life. Kirk Franklin was always also one of them. You don't know who Kirk Franklin is. He's a gospel singer, producer, songwriter. He does it all. And my grandmother, God rest her soul, actually got me shifted. Both of my grandmothers, Florence and Ruth, got me hooked on Kirk Franklin because that's all we would listen to on the way going to church every Sunday morning. I kid you not. Ask my brother, ask my cousins. That's all we would listen to on the way going to church every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. I remember it like it was yesterday. So yeah, my grandmother got me really hooked on gospel music. And if you think about it too, gospel music and soul kind of intertwine with each other. They're kind of similar in a way, except they're just talking about different things. But I think soul comes from gospel music because gospel obviously originated back during like slavery time. So I think soul originated from gospel. So yeah, my grandmother was definitely a big influence in my musical career. Both of them. I know they both died probably like several, almost like a decade apart. Ruth died, I think, 2009. Florence died in 2021 or 2022. I think 2020. Yeah, one of those years. But yeah, definitely rough, man. I think losing both of them kind of put me in like a weird space with music, with my life. But one thing I could say is they definitely taught me well. I grew and I always resorted back to music, whether it was gospel or soul, to kind of put me in like that mood, because that's one of the things I can remember both of them for is no matter what was going on, there was always of some type of feel good music in the house that just put you in such a good mood. So I thank the both of them for just influencing me to if not keep music going, but just always resort back to music just to put me in such a better space. I really think they between my grandparents, they helped me, they raised me to have good energy. And my good energy really comes from them and the music, you know. If I'm feeling down one day, I think about them and then I'll listen to music. And, you know, you may cry, but instantly you're going to be put in such a good mood just because of the energy. And I can still feel their energy like close to me. It's like every day, you know what I mean? I still feel their energy every step of the way, whether I'm going through a negative situation, whether I'm going through a positive situation. I feel both of their energies. And it's difficult, man, especially like when you don't have really any grandparents, you know, especially like both of your grandparents are important, right? But to me and in our household, the Black community too, the grandmother has always been like the rock to the family. So not having both grandmothers anymore kind of it's weird, man. It's definitely strange. But you know, I still do got some so I can't say I don't have any grandmothers anymore because I got my wife's grandmother and I got my stepmom's mom. Shout out my mom Barb and shout out my mom Virginia. So I still got them in my life. You know what I mean? They're still here. God willing. But yeah, it was just tough to use because I was with Florence and Ruth like every weekend. Like, whether I was getting dropped off at Ruth's house or we was getting dropped off at Florence's house. If y'all don't know, Florence is my grandmother on my dad's side and Ruth is my grandmother on my mom's side. I'm just throwing that out there. But those are two women who not just taught me about music, but taught me how to love. I think that's why I'm such a big teddy bear when it comes to protecting women. Because, I have a little sister. I got my wife. My mom and my stepmom and my cousins who are all a lot of them are girls, aunts, from coworkers to colleagues. I'm very protective when it comes to women. And I just think because they just made me feel that type of energy when it came to them. I always felt some way like nobody's going to mess with my grandmothers. Like you ain't going to mess with them. And that's how I feel against it for every woman that's in my life. Whether it be from a distance, or internally, like family wise. So I think one thing they taught me is how to love and just be kind to people. That's why I am the type of person that I am today. Always going to be protective against my women because that's just how I rock. But yeah, they definitely gave me a love for music that I will always cherish and that will never go away. And then my like I said, my top three people, David Ruffin, Kanye West, and Michael Jackson. I'm actually about to name y'all my top 3 albums from all 3 of them. Give y'all something to listen to. So Kanye West, I can go off the top. Late Registration. That's the best album I ever heard from a hip hop artist, hands down. Late Registration from top to bottom. And yes, it is better than My Beautiful Twisted Dark Fantasy. So don't get it twisted. That album is amazing. But Late Registration, man, that's one of the best hip hop albums ever. David Ruffin, I would say my favorite album from him is probably Gentleman Ruffin. Oh my God. Yo, listen to all eight of those songs should be platinum if they're not already. Slow Dance, I Got a Thing for You, Love Supply, All I Need, like all of those songs that you can't beat them. Like all of those songs from top to bottom, you can't beat them. David Ruffin. This was recorded in 1980. Rest in peace, David Ruffin, man. That album was crazy. And then Michael Jackson, oh my God. Y'all know Mike is like an icon. So rest in peace to Michael Jackson too. If there was any deceased person that I would love to see in concert, it would be Michael Jackson, hands down. I think the best album from Michael Jackson is either between Off the Wall or Bad. I think it's Off the Wall. Off the Wall got way too many hits. That's 10 songs that went platinum. Like 10 songs on one album that went platinum. Like yeah. I think it's better than Thriller and Bad. Off the Wall is probably my favorite Michael Jackson album. I think that was also probably one of the best R&B albums to ever be made. So those are my top 3 albums right there. Late Registration, Off the Wall, and Gentleman Ruffin. They'll tap into those top 3 albums. And that's really where I got my musical, not just from those artists, but my musical influence. So if you hear a little soul, a little bounce, a little upbeat hip hop vibe, that is my musical influences right there. Those are probably, besides some other Tupac albums and things like that, those are probably the only albums I can listen to from top to bottom with no skips at all. And that's where I got my influence from, because I got like a little soulful type vibe, feel good music, I guess you can say, a little bounce to it. That's where I got my inspiration from, man. And it's really astonishing because I don't think anybody makes music like me. Not that I know of, So I'm telling you, you tap in to those 3 artists or those 3 albums, you'll have some music inspiration. When I didn't have anything to write, when I'm sitting there in the studio, and JD can vouch for this, I'm sitting there in the studio and it's just like 30 minutes going by, we're just like, okay, what are we going to record? I said, hold on, I got something. I throw on some David Ruffin. I listen to it in my headphones. I get a little inspiration off that. I throw on some Kanye West, I guess, you know what I mean? Got my little drink in me, you know what I'm saying? So those are my big inspirations, man. And my grandmother, Florence, listened to a lot of music like that, David Ruffin. Ruth listened to some soul music. Sometimes it was more so gospel. But David Ruffin, Michael Jackson, Kanye, man, I could talk about them for days. Those are my big three in music. And those are just people who just inspire me to do what I love. And I'm always going to continue to do what I love. To day I die. So those are my three big inspirations. And Grandma Ruth and Grandma Florence, thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all so much. Thank you guys for inspiring me to do what I want to do on a day-to-day basis, and just being with me every step of the way. Because this life should get hard, man. So especially when you coming up in a city, it's like real gritty. You don't know what to expect nowadays. So thank y'all for always shining a positive light on me and getting me to where I need to be in life every single day. And I just thank y'all for, allowing me to experience this type of music, because it's been such a big influence on me all these 30 years that I've been living. That it's been something that's been just instilled for me. So rest in peace to, both my grandmoms. Love y'all both. And yeah, they're the ones that gave me that music inspirations, and that's why you see that's where I'm at now. So make sure y'all just not go tap into my music, but go tap into those artists I told y'all about earlier, David Ruffin, Kanye, and Michael Jackson. If you haven't already, I know y'all probably tapped into Michael Jackson and Kanye, but David Ruffin is kind of a little under the radar. He's old school. So make sure y'all go tap in for all my other up and coming music artists, or my current artists who are big. If y'all need some more inspiration, please go tap into them. You won't be disappointed, and you might write a hit song because of that. So that's it. That's all I got for you, man.
2 a.m. Steady flexing. You heard the memo.
Yo. It's your boy Sire, and you are now tuning in to Rhythm of the Game podcast. Man, Rhythm of the Game podcast. Wow. It's crazy to think that I came up with this in like a week or so. To kind of give y'all a little backstory on it, I remember it was like the month of April. I'm telling my boy Cam, my boy Eddie, yo, bros, I want to start a podcast. Boom, boom, this, that, and the third. Okay, there's giving me advice like, hey, if you're serious about it, this is how we should go about it. This is gonna be some stuff that people are gonna be interested in. Yada yada yada. So we were thinking of some stuff, and I appreciate them because they're always going to be upfront and tell me what's what. So we're going through in text messages, right? We're trying to think of some names. We thought it was this. This is not going to work. Thought it was this. This is not very eye catching, or for graphics, or it's just not appealing. So I'm sitting there one night, and my favorite podcast in the world is $1 Million Worth of Game. Shout out Gilly and Wallow. They from Philly, both from North Philly, and and they just have something about them. I think it's their aura and their energy is why I love them so much. So shout out to the Unks for always holding it down. But yeah, they definitely like my number one podcast in the world. And if y'all don't know, tune in $1 Million Worth of Game. But anyways, I'm sitting there on the couch. I'm like, damn, I want to start this podcast. I'm thinking of different names. They're telling me, okay, maybe we can go with something else, something that's more appealing, something that's going to be an eye catcher to certain individuals, something that's going to stick in somebody's head. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, what are some things in my life besides like family and my loved ones that are important to me? Music, fashion, sports, right? The ideal big three for me versus family, because family and stuff come first. So I'm thinking like, okay, they're all entertainment some way, somehow. They all kind of circle back to the entertainment business. Music is something that I love doing. Sports is something that I love doing and love watching. Um, and Fashion is something that I've always been heavily influenced by. I just didn't know how to really dive into it. So those big three is something that, like I said, they intertwine with each other. So I'm thinking like music, sports, fashion, music, sports, fashion. You know, I wake up one day and I'm just like, rhythm of the game. Boom, there it is. I came up with that name because, well, first rhythm, you know, for music for once, and then game. I'm think of like fashion and sports. You know, sports. Every time you think of game, you think of sports, and fashion was actually always had a heavy influence on sports and music. You see a lot of different athletes who are sponsored by different type of clothing brands. You see a lot of music uh, entertainers, superstars who are going to the Met Gala, the BET Awards, and what they're wearing. And I observed that too, because it's not just about, you know, the music or the sports, you know, players. So what are people also looking at? They're looking at the shoes. Okay, these new Kobe's just dropped. He wore them in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Yada yada yada. Or what ASAP Rocky is wearing at the Met Gala. He got on these nice boots. Such and such guy on this spiked leather jacket. You know what I mean? So I kind of just pieced all that together. It was like a puzzle. And I'm like, yo, rhythm of the game. This is perfect. Boom. And that's why I came up with the name. I presented it to Cam and Eddie. And we just kind of took it from there. You know what I mean? So yeah, Rhythm of the Game is the name of the podcast and how I came up with it. Some different type graphics that we kind of Eddie instilled for it too. Shout out my boy Eddie Robs, was the kind of like the retro-y graphics for Rhythm of the Game. You guys will see the graphics then. But we kind of went for like a retro late 90s, early 2000s, because that's kind of like my vibe. That's the era I grew up in. So I kind of wanted to have it match to my brand essentially. And we just made it work with that. You know, everything worked with the graphics. We went back and forth for a little bit as far as like what direction we wanted to go, and we made it work. And then with Cam setting up this structure, shout out Cam too, of this of the whole episode and the whole podcast series itself. Cam has experience with podcasts, so it was more so of like getting everything structured to the T, not really going off of like a notepad, but just kind of getting everything structured so I can talk about it. So he helped me create the structure of the show in general, and just like some different shots and angles that we planned on getting for Rhythm of the Game. So yeah, man, it's been quite a journey, and this is our first episode, and I'm saying it's been quite a journey. Cause Rhythm of the Game, like I said, man, it's something that I think the big three in the world, besides politics, is talked about. Cause what do you hear when you're watching an ad after a sports game? You're listening to music, right? There's always music playing in the background. Somebody always got something nice on. There's the fashion part of it. And then there's usually always either a sports star in the the commercial or ad, however you want to call it. So they all intertwine back to each other at the end of the day. So I had to, one, create something that was relevant to this new day and age. And two, do something that I love to talk about, that other people are going to be interested in as well. So, yeah, man, Rhythm of the Game podcast. That is how it all came together. Yeah, that's how it all came together. That's how it's all gonna stay. And I'm just so excited for this to grow because I think, actually, let me rephrase that. I know it has the potential to be something bigger than what I see. I see it being a Rhythm of the Game, being a big podcast, but I think it has something bigger than what I'm envisioning. So, yeah, man, Rhythm of the Game podcast. That's how the name came up with it. We came up with the name. That's how we came up with the artwork. Just like the structure of the podcast in general. So this is definitely gonna be something to just sit back and just wait and see where it goes. But Rhythm of the Game podcast, man. Yeah, I can't believe it. It's crazy because it's been almost like 2 or 3 months ever since I came up with the name, and it's just been instilled in me since. Like, that's all I want to rep from now on, Rhythm of the Game, man. So, yeah. Sometimes an idea turns into a dream, and the dream turns into a reality. And I thought of all of this from just sitting in my bed. Shit happens, right? We're going to drink to that. Yo, it's your boy Sire, and you are now tuning in to Rhythm of the Game podcast. Yeah, and you know what's something crazy too? You see the sports on in the background. I used to play sports when I was a youngin'. I grew up playing football. That was my main sport. Football and basketball. I was a little too short to play basketball. Wasn't always a big fan of playing. I loved watching the game, but wasn't really a big fan playing basketball. But football was my main sport. Basketball, I can never remember the damn plays. Football, I started playing when I was like probably like 12, 13. I got little pictures at my mom's house, all my pictures and my medals and stuff at her house that I had to showcase off one of these days. But yeah, man, I started playing football when I was like 12. Played all the way up until high school. I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to go to the NFL. I wanted to play in D1 to go to the NFL, but I didn't have that drive in me like I should have. I wasn't working out crazy like I should have. I wasn't eating the right things. Was a phenomenal athlete, man. Definitely a phenomenal athlete. I played running back and I played cornerback, defensive back. Same thing. But like I said, I just didn't have that drive in me. I wanted to keep playing, but music was my next love, and that's what I wanted to keep doing. Anyways, some of my favorite sports, my favorite running back of all time is definitely Walter Payton. From like all time. My favorite running back now is Saquon Barkley. I've been watching him since Penn State. He's a fellow Penn State alumni too. I think he's one of the best running backs to ever live. It's crazy. The stuff he's doing in NFL now was the stuff he was doing in college. And all my Penn Staters can vouch for that. Dude's been a monster. He's a great person too. We talked a couple times. Shout out Saquon. We had Com 200 together. But yeah, shout out Saquon. He's a cool dude, man. But yeah, those are my favorite football player growing up was Walter Payton. Even though he was a little bit before my time, he was still with somebody my dad used to talk about. We used to watch on YouTube old videos of him on the VHS tapes. And dude was just phenomenal. He unfortunately died a while ago. Rest in peace to Walter Payton. But he was definitely one of the best running backs I've ever saw in my life. So I used to watch him when I was a young kid. Different clips of him used to come on TV. So I used to talk about him a lot. Shift to basketball. My favorite NBA player is Tracy McGrady. I love Tracy McGrady. I love watching him growing up. Used to watch him in like different all-star games, different NBA games. Oh man, Tracy McGrady was easily my favorite NBA player, man. I used to love watching him. Just how he used to pull up to the center court. Man, dude was a NBA All-Star when he was like 22, 23, which was crazy for back in like the early 2000s, if any of y'all know. But yeah, he's somebody I used to look up to. Tracy McGrady. I had one of his jerseys, and I used to have some of his shoes. Don't know what happened to them. They were in our old house in North Philly, so I don't know. I'll get some to collect one day just for memorabilia. Favorite fashion person too, because I'm trying to throw all these together. Favorite fashion person, I would say. I didn't really start getting into fashion. I always liked nice stuff. My dad and my mom, they always had this nice stuff. Back when FUBU was popping, Sean John, that was Diddy's brand back in the day. And just so y'all know, whatever's going on with Diddy right now, I'm talking about back in the day, back before all these allegations. So let's make that clear before y'all come on here and start going crazy. Oh, Diddy, like, I'm talking about back in the day. Just because what he did now, that doesn't take away from his work or his brands. But whatever the case may be, Sean John, we used to rock back in the day. Sean John was with a nice pair of white Air Forces. If you had that, you were the man. I'm telling you, you was the man. Anybody can vouch for that in the hood. In the early 2000s, you was the man. My dad always had us in Sean John from head to toe. So we used to rock a lot of Sean John, a lot of Rocawear. That was Jay-Z's brand. A lot of Rocawear. We had heavily influenced by some Rocawear. I actually probably gonna grab me some Rocawear shorts and t-shirts to wear out for the summer to be looking fresh. You know, and anybody can say what they want, but Rocawear, I think Rocawear is still in style. You know, shout out Hove on that, Jay-Z. But yeah, those are some of the fashions I used to rock, pieces I used to rock back in the day. And then my favorite sports stars and favorite musician, sports stars I used to look up to: Tracy McGrady, Walter Payton, Saquon Barkley. And just so everyone knows too, was originally, as of the Super Bowl, I was originally a Cowboys fan. Now I'm an Eagles fan. I'm not heavy rooting for anybody. I want to see everyone succeed. You know, the Eagles is my home team, so I gotta root for them. I'm still gonna root for the Cowboys too, because you know I like Dak Prescott, I like CeeDee Lamb. Now they got George Pickens, so I'm always gonna continue to root for both teams, right? So I really don't have a specific team when it comes to that. Now, when we talk about NBA, the Sixers. Also, shout out Eagles for winning the Super Bowl. We're going to double back again this year. Hopefully we come back and get another win. But anyways, the Sixers, when we talk about basketball, the Sixers will always be my team. I don't care how many games they lose this season. I will always be a diehard Sixers fan. I remember growing up watching the Sixers, watching Aaron McKee, Samuel Dallenberg, Allen Iverson, Kyle Korver. Oh my God, there's so many to name. Andre Iguodala. Back in like the mid 2000s when Philly was popping. Man, that unfortunately we never won an NBA championship with those five, but we made it to, playoff games, finals. Man, the Sixers were the shit. And we had I don't know if anybody remember, but back in the day, I said like 05, 06, when Sixers had the black jersey, I think it was red writing on it, and AI had the headband. Man, you couldn't tell us nothing. AI was definitely our savior back in the day. And the Sixers were just balling, man. I remember when AI crossed Kobe up, crossed Michael Jordan up. Like, man, watching the Sixers back in the day, not saying watching them not now is not fun, but watching the Sixers back in the day as a young 7-8-year-old kid in North Philly, you had to be there, man. It was a different time. I can't even describe it just because how different it was, So the Sixers, man, that's my team. That's going to always be my NBA team. We're getting the championship soon. I don't know when, but we're getting one soon. We just got to do a little bit more rebuilding. Make sure Joel Embiid stay healthy. Shout out to 76ers, man. And then Phillies, man. I've always been a Phillies fan, man. Ever since Jim Thome played on the Philadelphia Phillies. I was watching them back in 05, 06 when we used to have when we had 3 channels at my grandparents' house. You know, my grandparents are very old school. They're very Southern, so we had 3 channels. You know, we would sit there. I don't even think we had a fucking remote. I just think we had the little tuner where you would just like tune it. I know what I'm talking about. We had the little tuner. We would turn. It was more than 3 channels. It was probably like 10 channels, but you could only watch the news, what was important to us, the news, 6 ABC Action News. I forget what channel the Sixers on. We watched that and like something else with like the soap operas. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But we used to watch those back in the day, and those are the only 3 channels that I know we would watch. The news, the soap operas, and the whatever channel the Sixers was on. And it was just in like distilled imagery, but it was cool, right? You know what I mean? It was back in 06, between 06 and 07. So like, you know, we were young, me and my brothers, we were young kids watching these games, man, and just getting inspired by them. Because we were just like, AI was, I don't know if anybody realized this, but AI was one of the first people to pull in North Philadelphia when a Rolls Royce. And he's not even from Philadelphia. He's from Virginia. But that just shows you how much respect the city of Philadelphia had for that man. You know? So some of my big sports inspirations, man, it's crazy you got to see that in like real life. And it's just, it's a life-changing moment, man. And then on the fashion tip of it too, not even wearing all types of designers, but think about it. When the NBA was so, not that it isn't now, I just think it was more prominent back in like the mid 2000s, late 90s, mid 2000s. The NBA was so prominent on fashion, showing off their gear. We're talking about the big t-shirts, the long jean shorts, the fresh pair of Jordans or Kobe's, or white Air Forces with the headband wrapped around it. And sometimes they would have do-rag on with the hat tilted to the side. Man, that was fashion for me back in the day. That's where I get my inspiration at. That was fashion for me. And then you would see those guys on the court and be like, yo, this is cool. They can dress nice and they can play nice. You know what I mean? And it was streetwear. Fashion back in the day was streetwear. Baggy jeans with the baggy clothes, baggy suits, big suits, you know? So I don't know. Fashion is real cool now. I love the way fashion has evolved for the last decade. But fashion back in the day was a different story. I just felt like you were, I don't know, it was more raw. There wasn't that much makeup. There wasn't that much plastic surgery, and not knocking anybody who has that, because that's, you know, that's who you are. But back in the day, it was just more raw, more real, you know? I feel like people could be themselves. I feel like they didn't need to put on a facade to just please everybody, you know? So fashion for me back in the day is always going to be heavily influenced. I'm always with the baggy clothes era. So yeah, man, that was what influenced me. That's how I used to dress back in the day, with the baggy clothes on my way to football practice. Never had no tight stuff on. So that's just what we came up with, man. And that's just what it was. From sports to music to fashion. And that's just what it is. So we're going to go into our next episode here, guys. Make sure you tune in to Rhythm of the Game on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal. It'll be available with little clips on social media: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. YouTube is going to be where the full episode is going to be posted. So just make sure you tune in that. And then you follow me at Sire Music. That's Sire, S3ISRE Music. All lowercase. Follow me on all platforms. And yeah, talk to y'all soon.
We gon' take it higher, higher. We gon' take it higher, higher. About to set this shit on fire, fire. About to set this shit on fire. We gon' take it higher. Thank you.